Life's best moments are best captured by photography and video. You may ask, why photography and video? Because if a photo is worth 1,000 words, video is worth 1,000,000. And GPS photography and video will leave you speechless. GPS specializes in weddings, sports, fitness, and so much more. Book your next shoot today at 910-257-0526 or gpsphotoandvideo.com.
Welcome to the Amazon's podcast. I'm Glenn Young, owner of Amazon's Fitness Magazine. Celebrate the female physique. Subscribe to AmazonsFitMag.com. The podcast is brought to you by Maximus Posing Suits. Let your inner warrior shine. Custom-made competition suits for victory on every stage. MaximusPosingSuits.com. And, of course, GPS photography and video. Why photography and video? Because if a photo's worth 1,000 words, video is worth 1,000,000. Shout out to Gilco Productions. Great photos. Came up with this thumbnail for the podcast tonight. Really appreciate that guy. He's doing great work. Check him out at Gilco Productions. He did all the stage shots and stage video this past week at the New York Pro. My guest just made her pro debut at the New York Pro. Jess Falborn is back, IFBB Women's Physique Pro. Jess, I really appreciate you joining me.
Thank you for having me back.
Yeah, of course, anytime you want to come on. But I really appreciate you. New York Pro debut. It's okay. I mean, hey.
It was a big one.
Yeah, it was. You didn't shy, and we talked about that last time.
Yeah.
It was close to home.
Yeah.
But you want to jump in one off the bat. There was none bigger so far this season. You know, you could have looked at it. You had the Pittsburgh Pro and you had the St. Louis Pro. Mm-hmm. And there we go. Prize money went from $2,500 to $5,000. So that was big. But you never lose, you learn. So tell me what you learned.
I mean, you're right. Like arguably, this is the third biggest pro show, right? There's the Olympia, there's the Arnold, and then there's the New York Pro. As far as prestige, right? And this year, to date this year, that was the biggest women's physique lineup. So I wanted competition, right? I wanted to see where I stacked up. We knew going into this that I would be one of the most muscular physiques on stage. We knew that. That's always been the case for me. But in full transparency, it's been a real challenge for us to get my lower body conditioned enough. And, I've heard the good and the bad from people since I stepped on stage, pretty much asking me like, did you diet? Like, did you work hard? Did you push hard for this? Which sucks to hear, but we did. We pushed really hard. We just learned towards the end, especially during peak week, what's going to work for my physique and what isn't. And I will say, I kind of had been talking to you about this earlier, but I always wanted to do the New York Pro. That was always my goal, to do a pro debut right here, drive 20 minutes up the road, be around friends and family. But what I learned is that it's actually more stressful than traveling to a show. Especially because my home gym, where I train clients out of, where I train every day, Signature Fitness, less than 10 minutes from where I live, was the like hometown gym that everyone was going to. People would go out to Long Island to Bev's and train there, and that was great. But Signature is the closest gym. Strong and Shapely is a great gym here too, but Signature is the closest gym, and they let all the pros train for free the week of the show. But a lot of people that came into town knew that I was the local pro and like I worked there. And so I was doing a lot of like liaising, right? Like getting people set up, running around, doing this and that. I got to be honest, there was no downtime for me, right? So like when I travel to a show, I'll go like 3 or 4 days early. Everything I have to do is done before I get there. And once I get to the destination for the show, feet are up, I'm relaxed, that's it. There's nothing else to do but like be there, get your tan done, take pictures, eat, that's it. I did not have that opportunity this time. And so lesson learned, I may never do a show around here again. Or if I do, I'm going to treat it just like I would treat traveling to a show and shut it down for the last like 3 days before. Like no hair appointment, no nail appointments, no lashes, like none of that stuff that you typically have to do before you travel in those last 3 days. Because I got to, so the show was Saturday and we were on stage at 8 a.m., which meant hair and makeup is like 4 or 5 a.m., which meant I was up at 3. I got to like 8 p.m. after we checked in on Friday night, like checked in for the show on Friday night. And I was like, I haven't sat down and put my feet up at all. So that was a big miss on my part. And so, yeah, biggest lesson there was I have to factor that in if I'm going to do New York Pro again next year.
And then, of course, there were the check-in photos. So that whole timeline, you know, and again, it was your first pro show.
Yeah.
And that's just, you know, lesson. That's a great lesson learned. Your timeline, you know, all the way mapped out to the last second.
And I'm normally like I'm such a planner. Like anyone who knows me knows I'm very type A, very organized, such a planner. But I also wanted to be, like my coach stayed with me for a while, like a week before he checked into the hotel, and he had a couple other athletes competing here. So it was great to have Justin here to like oversee all of the details and make sure everything went according to plan. But I also wanted to make sure that he was comfortable. I wanted to make sure our other athletes had what they needed. You know, I'm part of Camp Janssen, and we had quite a few athletes as part of Camp Janssen competing. So I wanted to make sure everyone had what they needed. And that was at the expense of me having what I needed. So lesson learned, I'm not going to be as hospitable next time. And I'm going to be selfish.
You got to divest yourself from everybody else that's competing. And that's something I talked with, you know, Ashley Jones and Jessica Reyes-Padilla last night. Hey, you still a coach. You got clients. At what point do you separate where, okay, I got to worry about me because this is the biggest show for me. And same with you. And I would tell you that it doesn't matter about the noise. Everybody's talking a whole lot of shit, good, bad, and different. It only matters what your coaches tell you, and of course, the judges. Have you received any judges' feedback yet?
Yes, yeah. So after prejudging, I mean, I knew immediately what the feedback was going to be, and so for New York, this year they did everything in one day. So there was a prejudging A, prejudging B, finals A, finals B. So there's a break in between the A and the B. So after finals A, like I was hanging out, I had one of my sponsors had a booth there, and I was like on their banner. So I was doing like meet and greet and chatting with people and hanging out with friends. So once finals A was done with all the divisions, one of the judges came out, and I caught him on his way to like get food or use the restroom. I was like, I just need 2 seconds of your time. And he knew who I was since I'm local. And he was like, you just got to come in tighter. You got to come in more conditioned, which I knew that was going to be it. And then I emailed Tyler because he was the head judge. And I asked him a couple questions because the main thing I was wondering, we know the conditioning. We know we have to work on getting my lower body conditioned. But the main thing I was wondering was, as I looked at the comparison photos and got feedback from other people, I was like, is my physique a fit for women's physique? Or am I going to have to go up to women's bodybuilding?
You know, I saw you put the little poll on Instagram on your post. I was like,
yeah. And I like, listen, I will go where the judges tell me to go. And I think I had maybe said this on the last episode, and I spoke about it. Like, I
asked you the question.
Yeah. And I don't particularly want to go up to women's bodybuilding just because I don't want to put on more size. Like, that's in full transparency. I don't want to put on more size. But if my physique as it stands is a better fit for women's bodybuilding and I would be more successful there, then I'm open to it.
Is that a question you asked Tyler Mannion?
Yeah. So once I asked him first for feedback, and he was like, tighter everywhere, like better conditioning, especially in the lower body, especially in the hamstrings and the glutes. He did say, like, in my back double, he wanted to see my arms a little bit bigger and my back a little bit wider, which I think that's more just a posing fix, if anything. And then I said, thank you so much. One additional question. Do you think my physique is a better fit for women's bodybuilding instead of women's physique? And he wrote me back and he said, no. He said,
Okay.
come in conditioned and you're perfect for women's physique.
There you go.
So
And
that
again,
answers my question. I will go where the judges tell me to go.
And it only matters what the judges say. No one else.
Yeah.
Everybody else is just,
the judges and then what I
actually want
to do.
Yeah.
So.
And they're the voice that matters. And of course your coaches as well. So
yeah.
There you go. I have to ask you, did you feel like, and looking at Sharonica Hinton's physique, everybody was talking about classic physique, but that's really the definition of women's physique, because nothing has changed about the definition of women's physique division as far as in the writing and everything out there. No striated glutes is the biggie. How did you feel? Did you feel like you was a women's bodybuilder on the stage of women's physique? In comparison to others, you look left and right, Marika Jones. Talk to me about that. How did you feel? I mean, we always talked about the nerves. It was your pro debut, better timeline scheduling. When you got on stage with those competitors, how did you feel?
So I knew backstage. I looked around and I'm realistic. I was like, crap. I know that my conditioning's not there, but I also was like, damn, I am proud of how much muscle I am bringing to the stage. I knew and pound for pound, I had the most muscle. And like that is, you have to find the silver linings. You have to find the things that you're proud about. It's bodybuilding. So like I checked that box. I did that. But I knew when I was backstage and I saw everyone like getting like glazed up and stuff, I was like, these girls are in shape. Like, and I didn't expect anything less. I think like, I'm not going to comment on all the other women's physiques that were up there, but like Sharonica, that was a well-deserved win. Like she's a multiple-time Olympian, Arnold competitor.
At the time, she was a 4-time Olympian. I used to be her photographer, so I knew her well. So when I was seeing all the hate comments, I was like, really, you need to go do your research. Now 5 times. Seasoned pro. And then the same with Marika Jones. She was coming in already qualified from the St. Louis Pro. No pressure on her.
No.
She just wanted to see how she was gonna pan out, but she already had the qualification in the bag.
And she had already committed. She had already committed to New York, so that's why she.
Right, exactly. That's exactly what she told me. She'd already signed the contract. Had she not signed the contract, she got that qualification at St. Louis, she may have not have done the New York.
Yeah. But I mean, you want to be seen on those bigger stages, she wouldn't want to leave it at. Not that St. Louis wasn't competitive, but it was a smaller lineup. It's a smaller show. Right. So, I mean, good on her to continue on and step on a big stage like that. Like, I probably would have done the same thing. And I'm a firm believer. Like, I don't like when people are like, oh, you got your qualification, like, you're done competing. Don't take spots from other women. Like, okay, maybe if you're Miss Olympia, you shouldn't do that because we want to be good ambassadors for the sport and let other women get an opportunity to get on that stage because our division isn't that big. But if you're, a rookie or like you haven't been on the Olympia stage before, like go on, girl, like do as many shows as you can, rack up that prize money, like get your name out there, get the experience. I'm all for it. Like that's why we do this, especially if you really enjoy being on stage. Why not do it? Why not do multiple shows? So, but I think, Sharonica, that was a well-deserved win. Like, I think she really does have a beautiful physique. And I thought she was a little bit taller. So when I saw her backstage, I was like, oh, like we're around the same height. But she's got that like really nice tiny waist, that really great taper, and her conditioning was spot on. I think she brought a really great package to stage. And so when they had the 2-woman call out between her and the other woman, Julia, who had just turned pro a couple weeks before.
Right, Julia Sherrod, I think.
Yeah. I mean, her conditioning was really, really great. But Sharonica just had a more balanced physique.
And she had just recently turned pro, I think, last year as well. So, I mean.
No, Julia was just a few weeks before.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just this year.
So then, that's another testament to say, I want to jump in the New York Pro to see how I'm going to do. Same mindset. Great thought, because, to get second this early in the game,
kudos to her. I mean, I think her conditioning bumped her up to second place. Like, she looked really, really, really good.
And then, of course, to finish above Marika Jones as well. All of you look great, but there can only be one winner. You know, that's like the Highlander. There can only be one.
Yeah.
But you mentioned the key word: prize money.
Yeah.
New York Pro 2,500 to 5,000.
That was great.
And coming out today, did you see it?
Miss
Texas
Olympia
Pro?
doing Miss Olympia things.
Yes, big things.
Yeah.
$15,000.
It's so wonderful. I was at Texas Pro last year. That's where I did the interviews for NBC News Online.
Right.
So whether
right. You would okay.
Whether I decide to compete there or attend, like that's a show. Texas, they treat, and Battle Up Productions and Freddie, they treat their athletes so well in Texas at those shows.
They do.
They're run so well. The athletes get the best experience. And then add on top of that additional prize money for women's physique. I mean, that's what's going to draw more athletes to these shows. And I think you could make the argument, like, is it the chicken or the egg? Do we give more prize money to get more athletes, or do the athletes have to prove that they deserve more prize money by entering more shows, right? And I think you could make an argument for both, but I think Sarah is doing what a Miss Olympia should do, and she's being a great ambassador to the sport and building it up to get more women involved.
Continues to do that. Sarah Villegas, 3-time Miss Olympia. Kudos to her. I actually sent her a message, and I told her that same thing. You know, what you're doing is unprecedented.
Yeah.
And continue it. Hopefully, more promoters are going to follow her lead.
I hope so. I hope so.
I mean, but here's the thing, and back to it, as far as doing too many shows, you throw $15,000 out there, as she has done, people are coming.
Yeah.
And you could argue that that's the reason that Natalia Coelho done so many shows too. The prize money was there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So it was almost like, and then when the year that she beat Sarah Villegas, you know, it was like, hey, thanks for all the money. And oh, by the way, I'm Miss Olympia. So that's all the tense, man.
Hey, that's the sport.
Because she literally put a bounty on her head, but of course that was rectified last year. And that's why she's 3-time Olympia, Miss Olympia women's physique. Yeah. And that was a thing too, where coming in too peeled, and then the feedback that she got, well, you need to pull it back some, and then she lost. So, and one of her posts that she made famous right after Olympia said, never again. And so the back and forth and the latest talk, you know, deja vu, 1 year later, we're talking about women's physique not showing up at the shows. And then, of course, the definition of women's physique, not knowing what the judges want. And when you look now at all the ones that qualified for the Olympia currently, people going to start looking at the physiques from Sarah Villegas on down. They're like, okay, what's the standard?
I mean, I have my opinion on it.
Give it to me.
It's conditioning, man. This has become a conditioning contest. And I'm like, people may give me some hate and some flack for this, but I long for the days when the standard was Juliana Malakarn. Like, I think that was the beautiful era of women's physique. And I'm not saying it's not beautiful anymore. I'm not saying that we've gotten so far away from it, but I think every division, we're just chasing conditioning, and you're seeing women with better balance, or physiques just in general, even guys with better balance, be overlooked, or better stage presentation, better posing, be overlooked in favor of conditioning, gnarly conditioning. And I get it. Like, you know, the conditioning arguably can be harder for some people to achieve than putting on size. Right. So let's reward, I guess, what's most challenging in the process of getting to stage and competing. But I think it's just, they're becoming somewhat unrealistic standards. Maybe they're just pushing people out of the sport that aren't genetically built for the sport, whatever it may be. But I think it's become more of a conditioning show and not necessarily a bodybuilding show. And that's my opinion. I know I'll probably get some flack for that, especially since I didn't come in super conditioned.
Hey, thanks for being so candid.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see what Tyler Mannion, who was the head judge, has to say, because he's been doing these
The
feedback
recap.
videos,
Yeah.
and it's great. And so I
Yeah.
can't wait to see what he says about women's physique.
Yeah,
And
likewise.
it may just be a time to rewrite what the standard is for women's physique. I
Yeah.
don't know. So
Yeah.
I look forward to his feedback, because when we get to this Olympia, so huge, the 60th Olympia,
Yeah.
every show is different. Every show, different set of judges.
Yep.
You know, hopefully get some interviews to come out there from the Olympia judges,
Yep.
proposed ones. I like what Bob Ciccarilla had said when he talked to Sharonica. He was one of the key factors that wrote the standard for women's physique. So that's the feedback that everyone's looking for. The prize money's increasing. $15,000 at the Texas Pro. Hey, women's physique, let's go. Let's go.
Let's go. Yeah, it's
And,
exciting. We're gonna have an
he's
exciting
awarding all the way down to top 10 places.
Yeah.
So
It's
you at least going to go on 10. You're at least going to go home with $1,000. So
it's amazing.
I'm anxious to see who's going to do it. And so that brings me to my next segue. What's the next show for you?
Toronto Pro.
Okay.
Yeah, I know it's going to be a stacked lineup, but like we said earlier, I don't want to shy away from competition. And
exactly.
I Optimum Classic is this coming weekend, and
yes,
didn't feel like we could make enough progress in just a week when the feedback was just come in more conditioned. So a week wouldn't really give us that. But we'll see what we can do by the time Toronto comes, and it's now just about 2.5 weeks, 2 weeks.
I was gonna, 2.5 weeks.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll also say this: New York Pro was my 5th show ever. Like I did 4 shows, got my pro card on my 4th show. New York Pro was my 5th show. I've never done more than 1 show in a year. So my body, I'm teaching it how to be able to rebound and then quickly get ready for the next show. So I think the pressure of the pro debut being behind me is allowing me to just go into this and be really excited to just have some fun, because I love being on stage. I love performing. I love doing my posing routine. And so the pressure isn't there so much, because I'm all right, I already, the worst case scenario happened. I got bottom of the lineup. So it can't get worse.
Well,
so I'm going to go up there and have fun. And I know a few names that are doing the show, and it's going to be a competitive lineup, but I'm hopeful that I can show, they're a different set of judges, but I'm hopeful that I can show the judges that I've made improvements, and I'll continue to make improvements. And hopefully we'll be able to do a handful of shows this year and continue to improve each one. So.
It's great that you being so candid and a great sport about it. And you're right. When you go back in front of the judges again, they don't want to be telling you, look, I told you to do X, Y, and Z, and you're back in front of me again. So guess what? So it's going to take time, and you got time.
You do.
Back, when we talked last time, you didn't see it as a pitch count, but now how long have you been in prep?
I have not counted the weeks, but started prep the day after Thanksgiving. So it's been, let's say, December, January, February, March, April, May. So about 6 months. So, yeah, I mean, and honestly, so say Toronto doesn't go in my favor, but I move up in placings. The next possible show is Atlanta Pro in July.
Yes.
There's nothing from the beginning of June to the 2nd or 3rd weekend of July, whenever it is. And there's
Atlanta Pro and Chicago Pro.
Yeah. So, so I think that actually is a good chunk of time if we decide to continue, where I could have maybe a little bit of a mental break, right? And then pick back up, and hopefully my body responds to that. So, but honestly, my body's already started to respond, just I had a meal Saturday night, I had a meal Sunday morning, and then I was right back in the gym and right back on, my diet. So, like I said, we've never done back-to-back shows. So it's just kind of learning what works. And, I don't want to be in prep for 12 months, but, we'll see what we can do.
So how does your body feel? Are you going to get some blood work done between the shows, do checks? What are you going to do over, the next 2.5 weeks?
We won't get blood work in the next 2.5 weeks because we wouldn't change anything. It's
Okay.
too soon, but maybe after Toronto, we'll do it. I mean, I feel good.
Okay.
I honestly I was saying this to Justin last week. I was like, this is the best I've ever felt in a contest prep. Like in previous years, like there would be like, I'd be moody. My sleep would suffer. Like we would get like acne around the jawline. Like there's certain things that women should pay attention to when their hormones are out of whack.
Right.
This is the first prep where like I really haven't had any awful side effects. I feel pretty good. I feel like the typical like low energy from being low food and high activity and all of that. And then like the week, like the few nights leading up to the show, and then a few nights right after the show, my sleep wasn't great, but I think that was just a product of just like adrenaline and being out of my routine. But other than that, like I can't complain. Like intensity is still really high in the gym. Food isn't super, super low. We found that my body doesn't really respond well to like low food for many days in a row. It kind of just stalls. So I feel pretty good. And as soon as if there's any like alarm bells that lead us to believe that we need to do some blood work, we'll do it. And we have a plan for like, once we're done with prep for the year, we'll do what we did last time, which was blood work, a GI map test, a full gut protocol, like make sure my adrenals, my cortisol levels, my hormones, everything is good. So we'll do that right away this time instead of waiting. Last time we waited probably like 5-6 weeks until like things started to go a little bit downhill. But now we know once we come out of prep, we'll just like attack it like we would anything else. And hopefully we won't have any health issues. So
when you get your blood work done, what specifically are you looking for? What are the red flags that the coach is looking for?
Yeah. So
as well as you yourself too.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have my athletes that I coach also run the same type of blood work, regardless of whether they are a natural or enhanced athlete.
Right.
A complete blood panel, and I always tell them ask for complete blood panel, sex hormones, cortisol levels, and full thyroid workup.
Right.
So we want to make sure, like the thyroid's a really resilient gland. So like, it's taxed quite a bit in a contest prep. However, as well as your adrenals, they're taxed quite a bit, but they are very resilient. So it's easy to get it to bounce back in the right way, but we're looking at thyroid function for sure. We're looking at cortisol levels. Most people will assume like, oh, my cortisol is really high because I'm so stressed. But oftentimes we're so stressed for so long that it ends up that our cortisol has become almost non-existent because we're overproducing for so long. And then the body's just like, oh, well, we're just going to shut this down. We don't need this anymore. So you end up actually having no cortisol, and the symptoms of no cortisol and high cortisol are very similar. So we want to look at cortisol production, which for anyone that's watching and doesn't know, that's obviously your stress hormone. So that can lead to downregulation of a lot of other things and a lot of other hormones. We're looking at, again, all the sex hormones, so testosterone, all forms of estrogen, progesterone, and making sure that they're okay. Liver enzymes, kidney function. Those are the main ones we'll take a look at. And like, you have to expect that it's not going to be perfect. And so when people come out of a contest prep and they post on Instagram, like, I had perfect blood work, I'm like, I call bullshit. Like, you did not have perfect blood work. And it's not a badge of honor. Like, you just put your body through the ringer. Like, you shouldn't have perfect blood work, but there are ways to mitigate and make sure you stay as healthy as possible. Things like making sure you sleep, making sure you rest, try to keep stress low, other stress low when you're in a contest prep. Take your kidney support, your liver support, all of that stuff. So, so those are the things that we'll look for and make sure that they're okay. And I have a feeling that they'll be better than they were last time because I've been really diligent about like prioritizing rest and recovery and all of that.
You've given some great lessons learned for everyone watching, and once they see this video, great takeaways as far as your first pro debut. What went right? You need to tell me what went right. You told me what went wrong.
Yeah.
And of course, when we get to Toronto, what will you do better next time? because you already laid the groundwork.
Yeah.
Great lessons learned. Give me those 3 factors.
Yeah.
You told me what went wrong. Now tell me what went right. What you're gonna do better next time.
Yeah. So what we'll do better is I'm gonna get there a few days early and relax. So a lot of the stuff that I did right before the show here, I'll do ahead of time before I travel, and then I'll get there. And the hotel is going to be super close to the host hotel in the venue. It has a little kitchenette. I'll get my food set up. Like, it'll be chill. I'll get there and just relax. Our peaking process is going to be a little bit different, and without like going too far into the weeds, like Justin and I debriefed on Saturday and again on Sunday morning, and we talked about like our water and sodium manipulation and how we're going to probably do it a little bit differently this time. Without diving too much into detail, like my physique.
No, this is great. Give me the details.
My physique holds a lot of water. Like it just does, and everyone's physique is different. And also, it's easier to peak a physique that has incredibly low body fat. We still have some body fat in my lower body that we just like. It's just a struggle for me to get it off, no matter what. So. We'll see where we're at the beginning of peak week, and then we'll probably manipulate our sodium and water in a little bit of a different way this time, and then fill out in a little bit of a different way using fats and carbs. So that'll be a little bit of a different approach that we haven't tried before. But this is the time to try it, because what we tried for New York didn't exactly go the way we wanted it to. But what we did for New York worked in 2022 when we won my pro card. So again, you learn each time you do a show. So so we'll do that a little bit differently. I'll rest a bit more. And then this time in Toronto, I think I'm only going to have my mom and her partner are going to be there. And then I might have 1 or 2 friends from here that might go as well. But for the most part, I'm just going to be by myself, which is for me ideal, because I won't have any distractions. So we'll do those things a little bit different. And then your question about what went well for New York. I mean, I think most things went well. Like, I had 0 butterflies getting on stage. I was just ready. Oh, I think I told you this before. I love being on stage. Like, I was so happy with my posing, my presentation, my posing routine. Olympia TV pulled me aside afterwards, Tarek, and I know Tarek for a little while now, and we did a quick interview, and he was like, Tina Turner. Like, everyone was so happy to hear Tina Turner when she came on. And I was so happy with my posing routine. I love being on the stage. And it was funny because, like, if you watch the videos, the FitX Imagery did the official photos for the show, and then Yoko as well. I got that package. And when I'm doing my posing routine, I actually worked the stage, and the camera didn't realize, because no one else did that. So the camera was like stuck in the middle, and then I go off stage.
Oh, they missed you. Yeah.
And they were like, what? And then they panned. And
the cameraman has got to follow you.
They didn't expect it, because no one else moved from that, like from the center, So Kenny Wallach is my posing coach, and when we put together my routine, we were like, we want to pick a song by like a badass female rocker from the 70s or 80s. B, we want to pick a song that everyone knows and is like reminiscent for the judges and like their era. And C, we want to work the crowd. Like, that's where I shine the most. So even though I didn't place where I wanted to, I like going into finals, all I wanted was to do my routine. Like, I wanted to get up there and have people like, holy crap, like that was an awesome posing routine. That's the art of bodybuilding. And I really think I did that. I think I checked that box, and I was so happy to do it. And I can't wait to do it again at my next show and the following show and all that. So.
And he's one of the known posing coaches. What did he say to you after it was over?
Oh my God. He was like, so he wasn't there. He was at Junior USA's because it was the same day. He had like 12 or 13 athletes competing there. So, but I see Kenny every Saturday. He lives in Connecticut, but he comes to Signature Fitness, my gym, and poses people in person every Saturday and Sunday. So I hop over there at like 8:30 a.m. every Saturday, see him. And so I felt okay not having him there. I felt ready. And when I sent him the video, he was like, oh my God, Jess, I'm smiling from ear to ear. My cheeks hurt. He was like, you look like you loved being up there. You had so much fun. And I can say, like, my posing was spot on. Like everything that we worked on, we achieved. Now we'll make some tweaks. Like I said, Tyler wanted to see my arms a little bit bigger and my back a little bit wider and my back double. I think it's a posing thing. So just working on making sure I'm like, I know what to do. Sometimes when you're on stage, you feel a little rushed, you know? So we'll work on that. But he was super happy. He was just like, my job is complete. We did what we were supposed to. We had a great routine. Everyone remembers this routine now. And that's what people are going to remember and talk about. So he was really happy, and that meant I was happy as well. So,
what will be your routine next time in Toronto? Can you say? Can you talk about the music, or it's going to be a surprise?
It's going to be the same. It's going to be the same. Yeah, I'm going to stay with Tina.
Okay.
Yeah, I was told. Tarek said to me, he was like, "Jess, if you don't do Tina Turner again, I'm going to have a problem." I said, "Okay, fine."
Yeah.
I mean, listen, if we on the like chance that I make the Olympia, I might do a different routine, but I think I'm going to stick with what works. Cause it's a different crowd. It's a different judging panel, you know, so why not? And Toronto has Masters 35 plus and open, and you know, I love being on stage. So
are you going to jump in the Masters?
We may just do both.
Okay.
We may just do both. I mean, I like the time on stage, so why not?
Well, I mean, I think you nailed it on the lessons learned. Great feedback you've given. And most importantly, you got the feedback from the judges.
Yeah.
The distractions are what they are, and every competitor has to manage them appropriately.
Yeah.
It's not if you snubbing your family or snubbing your, your sponsors when you went to the booth and stuff. So
yeah,
great lesson learned.
Yeah. Now we know.
All right. So you're going to come back and talk to me after the Toronto?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
I'll give you more lessons learned.
There you go.
I'll let you know what went well. I'll talk to you about Toronto, talk about maybe some good food I had after the show in Toronto.
There you go. The after action review. What went right, what went wrong, or what needs to go better next time.
There you go. Yep.
I really appreciate you for coming on.
Thank you for having me, Glenn.
Go get the rest. Well, you can't rest because you got clients coming up here in a little bit, right?
Yeah. So I got, the cool thing too, and the reason I got into bodybuilding was because I wanted to be able to like teach my clients discipline and like work ethic and good habits. But I also, I end up getting a lot of clients from just being on stage and the exposure. So I actually brought on a few new clients at the show. People came up to me and they were like, "Can you teach me how to pose like that?" Or like, can I work with you for nutrition? So I have a few, I see people virtually for personal training as well as posing. So that's what I have the rest of this evening. So
great stuff.
Yeah.
Go to it. Thanks again. And let's do it again after the Toronto.
Absolutely. You got it.
Yeah. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Take care. Talk soon. Coming up next, Nina Amperful is going to be joining us here in about roughly 20 minutes. So you don't want to miss that. Looking forward to it, talking to her. We're going to talk about her business, what's up next for her. So jump back in at 7:30 for the second hour with Nina Beans. So that being said, as always, celebrate the female physique. Subscribe to amazonsfitmag.com. Thanks to all the new subscribers to the website, as well as to the Amazon's Fitness Magazine YouTube channel. So let's keep them going. Appreciate you guys. And I'll see you in roughly 20 so minutes.